Hey,
Well, good morning,
look at
everybody.
look
How are
at
we doing
this.
today?
Good morning.
We're just like rocking this four panel these days, right? What's going on with that?
Yeah, we're trying to get to more of a panel type audience feel. So I think it looks good. Good to see everybody today.
Yeah,
Good to see you guys too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
happy to be here.
best
Well,
day ever, right?
what's that?
It's the best day ever.
That's right. Best day ever, everybody. I gotta get like some sort of stinger graphic that comes out. Oh,
Yeah.
good morning. Good morning. Well, Curtis, this is your first time on the stream.
Yes.
Welcome to the panel. You want to do a little introduction?
My name is Curtis. I'm a senior architect at Baker Tilly, and I'm happy to be here. Happy to work with Chris at good old Baker Tilly, and happy to make our clients happy. Happy to be here.
Well, Curtis is a little downplaying here. Curtis is the author of PyTabular, which he created 5 years ago that allows for you to manage nearly all aspects of a tabular model in a Python notebook, because you were running a 190 gig semantic model that you needed fine control over upgrades and validations. You want to give a little plug of your tool?
Yeah, well, I always like it better when Chris introduces me than I introduce myself. But yeah, so PyTabular is a open source Python package that I ended up creating out of necessity over at a previous company, and it's become Python's the glue of the world. And one of the pain points I had was when you think of analytics engineers and data engineers, sometimes you can kind of have some gaps there. Well, everybody knows Python. They're teaching that to first graders these days. And so being able to connect to the model via Python and do model.refresh or model.query makes it a heck of a lot easier for everybody. And so that was a big pain point that I wanted to solve, because otherwise you're getting into C# scripts and it's a whole nother world that they've got to learn. But this makes it's very easy to just add some glue. If table row count is greater than 0, then refresh. This is just basic stuff, basic problems. So yeah, that's the tool.
Yeah,
Nice.
we'll post a link in the chat, and we will eventually do a live stream dedicated to this. But I will say, you had this 5 years ago when you showed it to Microsoft. They had thought the sum total of reasons why anyone would connect to a tabular model from a notebook was for data science purposes, and they were blown away. They're like, "What do you mean data engineering purposes?" And lo and behold, 2 years later, Semantic Link Labs comes out, and like, oh, so
there it is.
Yeah, there it is. PyTabular. You can
Link.
check the Git repo histories. It's Curse has had it out there for a while. Hey, Data Bart. Good morning, sir.
He's handling the links for us today.
Yeah. Hey,
Data Bart.
Well, we're going to be jumping in, and we're going to be, Kristyna's going to be sharing with us. Kristyna's you're going to be sharing with us some real-time intelligence stuff today. But before we do that, want to just quick hit on some updates that are out there so that people can be aware of some of the things that are going on. Because Kristyna, you are a little late today, right?
Yeah.
You guys been getting it pretty good there, huh? What's been going on weather-wise?
Yeah, Kentucky is underwater, if you haven't heard. Especially where I'm at, about like 5 miles down the road. Yeah, Buffalo Trace especially, I think they let's put it this way, the river's usually at about 10 feet, and I think the crest I heard was 53 feet. So it is a lot of water.
Yeah, I have an article up as well, and 48.24 feet is what they're saying.
Wow.
So yeah, just right at 50 feet.
Yeah. Holy cow. That's pretty high, right?
Yeah. So with that, I mean, I have minor issues compared to what some people are dealing with. So I hate to complain, but we have one part in our roof that's leaking. So we thought it was fixed, and it was not this morning. So was a little late just cleaning that up and reinstalling the system.
you were telling me somewhere else is that like you saw a house floating down the river.
Yes, there are many pictures of it online. It is pretty nuts.
It's
So,
crazy.
yeah, a lot of people displaced right now. So I should have had that pulled up. There are some links where you can help people who are
I put one in. Yeah, Chris is going to share that one out.
Yeah. So
I found that through the other site, but if you know of others, but this seems to be pretty good.
perfect. Thank you.
yeah. So if you're if you got that tax refund, like some of us have just seen hit our bank accounts, like tossing a couple, some bucks over that way would be much appreciated. I'm sure those people are in significant need of assistance. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And let's not go down the tax refund. That's not my game.
Sorry.
My game is pay a lot right now and then see what happens in October. So,
hey, I don't know how much you guys saw the updates this week, but Microsoft just rolled out this new content sharing report. I did a video on it. I spent a good chunk of yesterday on my on my personal tenant, but then also at a client's tenant, looking over all the objects that are out there, looking at insights that you can get. The overview tab is great for like understanding the length and the breadth that's out there. But holy cow, I was blown away at the things you can find inside of the analysis tab. And I'm going to show you, like, where'd it go? Item subtype has some like real cool insights in there. I do recommend check it out. You can learn more about what's inside your what you have available inside your instance than really anything I've ever seen before. So it's pretty cool. All right. And then the last update before we go over to Kristyna's stuff is if you're on the Reddit community and
who's not?
Yeah. And
I mean,
who's
come on.
not, right?
So we shouldn't even have to ask that question. Get on Reddit. And when you get on Reddit,
Confession, I am not on Reddit.
Oh no.
I need to get on there.
You confess first. I'm not on either.
Yeah. They got me
Alex
to reactivate
David.
a 9-year dormant account in order to come back on. So
I mean, the interaction with the Microsoft employees that are on there is amazing.
Yeah.
You honestly don't see that anywhere else. So that alone, because like I try to go out there and read and answer questions or put, I don't put much out there, but every time I go and I like, oh, maybe I could help with that one. I go, oh, somebody answered and it's a Microsoft employee. Well, I'll move on then.
Nice.
Well, this one it's on the 15th. So next week, there's going to be an AMA. Or I guess it's SAUA because there's many people that are going to be there. So do check this out. It'll be quite good. All right.
Nice. A better way to spend tax day.
Right. So okay, so we're here though. We've been shooting the breeze. Hey, good morning, Andrew. Good to see you. But we're here to talk RTI or real-time intelligence. Kristyna, do you want to give like what the heck is RTI? Why would anyone care about it? How does it work? What is it?
Yeah, so real-time intelligence, what we're going to be talking about is instances where you're streaming your data, right? So you've got a data source, for example, what we're going to look at is the ISS, so the International Space Station, and we're going to look at the data that just comes in constantly about the location of it over the Earth. Now, in a real world scenario, what that might look like is your fridge temperature. It might look like your manufacturing numbers. It might look like temperature gauges on a machine, something that you have data constantly flowing in, and you need to know in an instant what it is currently. So what I hear some people say real-time intelligence for is things like sales data. I don't really consider that too much real time, because if I get that data in 10-minute interval, it's not going to change my reaction time, right? Like the reaction time I need for that is going to be a conversation. It's going to be, a discussion. It might even be, a week that I need the data. When we're talking real time, we're talking like an action needs to be taken within seconds to minutes when you see a certain data point. So it can be cool to have real-time data for your sales. Don't get me wrong. I think that's kind of fun on especially if you work I used to work for a third-party logistics company. And if we ever had like a real-time board of like who was selling what, that's pretty fun, right?
You'd at least get the cheers, right? Like, yay!
Exactly. Yeah. But at the heart of it, real-time intelligence, the power in it is you get those real-time insights. So that's what we're going to be talking about, is how you get that in Fabric. And my way is just one way. I presented this at FabCon. I had people come up to me afterward and they said, "Can I do it X, Y, and Z way?" And I said, "Of course you can." Like my way is kind of if you're getting into it, it is a scary beast, because you might not necessarily know all the pieces of the puzzle you have to build. So that's kind of what we're going to cover, is like, hey, let's build a POC together. I have all the code you're going to need. I can talk you through the prerequisites, and you can build a POC of real-time intelligence on your own for basically nothing. So that's what we're going to talk about today.
Cool. And we have some breaking news that Anthony owns some aircraft that he tracks this way.
Okay, Anthony, we need to connect, and we need to redo my demo with that data. You can be flying in the air while we present.
I have a feeling he doesn't totally own it, but I think he's tracking something else. I think I embellished that. We'll see if he replies in the chat here in just a little bit.
Is that real?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, let's stop talking. Let's get over to your desktop and let's check this out.
Yeah, so I have quite a few slides, but I know how our live stream goes, right? So I have focused on one slide, and we're going to talk about this. I'll start actually back one and just talk about the prereqs, like I mentioned. So you'll need a Fabric capacity backed workspace, and what that means is you can use a trial capacity. That's what I'm going to be using today, or an F2. What I used to do before I used trial capacities was I would turn on an F2, and then I would turn it off when I was done. And I got to tell you, that maybe cost me $5 a month to run this entire demo multiple times a month. So just keep that in mind. The second thing you'll need is a streaming data source. So what I mean is something that is constantly sending you data. So we're going to use that free REST API. I've had people ask me, can I connect this to my SQL server? Sure, but it's not going to be constantly pushing data to you, right? You need something that is pushing data, like a Kafka or REST API, something like that. The third is kind of a joke. You just need a working relationship with time. You don't need time travel experience for real time. Yeah. Yeah. Thanks, guys. It's just to see how much coffee we've all had.
I'm trying to understand the working relationship part of it, though, I guess, But anyways.
Well, we all live in time, That's basically it.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
I live in my own time sometimes.
That's even better, Kevin. I think that's advanced. But yeah, so just to cover the real-time demo architecture, I've kind of made it really simple, because we're going to kind of go back and forth a little bit, and I don't want us to get lost where we are. So we're going to start off with the REST API, and then we're going to go into actually creating the event house. So we're going to start at the end. The reason for that is I like to know where I'm landing my data before I create the other pieces. So we're going to create the event house first. We're not going to put anything in it. We're just basically making a destination. And then from there, we're going to back into creating an event stream. And then again, for another landing zone into Fabric. And then we'll back up and make our logic app that's actually going to be pushing data. Now you might be asking, why do I need this step? Why do I need logic apps? The reason for that is event streams kind of get data from somewhere and then put it in the event house. You remember how I kept saying we need a streaming source? The logic app is basically our connection point between the REST API, which is not actually pushing data, right? The REST API is saying, hey, data is available constantly here. My logic app is doing the pushing. So if you have something else doing the pushing, you don't need the logic app. this was another sticking point that people had questions about, and it makes sense, right? In a perfect world, I would write something up and make something that was pushing data, but then not everybody could do it, right? So I'm thinking through like, let's make this POC about what it should be, which is how do we get it into an event stream and into the event house. So the logic app, yeah.
Which I still think is fine, right?
Oh
Because
yeah,
you know, you may need to set something up that like you said, kind of hits the pushing or whatever. But different IoT devices and stuff like that come with things that do that. That's kind of the point you're trying to
exactly.
yeah. So if you just wanted to kind of practice, then why not?
Exactly.
Yeah.
100%. And it
Now,
can help you with, making the business case before maybe you have the pushing mechanism.
Mm-hmm.
now I know I've had some experience with RTI. I know Kevin has as well. Curtis, when you said you're going to join this morning, and you said, "Oh, RTI, would love to know what the heck that is."
Yeah.
Does this, so you get to play the role of the audience here. Curtis, does this make sense?
It does make sense. I think the pushing aspect is kind of what you were talking about, Christina, glued it together for me. Because like when I think of an API, I don't ever think of the API sending me information. I have to go request it, right? So
Exactly.
yeah,
Gotcha. And yeah, that was a connection that I suddenly made when we were talking about a week ago. Was like, aha, I've got to go get it. Whereas EventStream needs a push, and then Logic Apps is what's
Mm-hmm.
doing the push.
I
it,
can't tell you when I was putting this together. So full context, I like to put together presentations that I might not have the presentation built yet, so that I have to go learn it. When I was learning it, it took me an embarrassing amount of time to figure out I needed the Logic app.
Mm.
So I'm here to share it with the world.
So
I
Data
think we
Monkey,
all do it that way. So I'm in the middle of one right now. The same thing. I'm trying to put it together.
hey Christina, Data Monkey's asking, how often does the data change in the ISS?
I believe sub-second. So whenever
Okay.
I ping it, it's got new data. For the
Okay.
purposes of the demo, I make it on a 5-second delay, and we'll see that in the Logic app. But I have hit it like just constantly in my browser before, and it's always given me new information.
Okay.
So yeah, I'd recommend checking it out online, but it is a free API. There's not too much documentation because you don't need authentication, and it's a pretty fun tool that they've allowed everybody to just have. So yeah.
So that's awesome. Now we're gonna try to be better. We're a little late into the live stream, so we're 18 minutes in, but better than 53, which is what we had last week.
I should have
If you
reminded
have
you.
questions, please post those questions in the chat. Please prefix it with a Q. Don't spam the chat. Those are the rules. So and then make sure, like, I'm a bad YouTuber. I always forget about this. Really, please hit like, subscribe, share this with people. I can't tell you how much that helps us out. Really does. So if you could do that, I'd appreciate it, or we'd all appreciate it greatly. All right, Christina,
You guys ready?
let's dive into it. Let's do it.
Let's get out of stupid PowerPoint and go into more fun things like Fabric. So I am a big Lord of the Rings nerd, as some of you know. So almost everything I have in this workspace is named Lord of the Rings style. We're probably going to make a couple of things that are named Lord of the Rings style because I think it's more fun. But what I did want to call out to you guys is that you're going to need, like I mentioned before, that Fabric content little diamond here, because what we're going to be creating are Fabric artifacts. So let me go ahead and we'll make our really complicated landing zone. So if I do new item, I have a few things favorited, but you can also go into all items and find this. I just like the favorites because, these are pretty much the only 9 things I'm ever using. So I'm going to go ahead and click Event House because this is going to create our KQL database for me. KQL, we'll talk a little bit more in a bit. It is really powerful, but go ahead and we're going to make this EH, and then we'll just call it space, create. And the longest part of this demo is waiting for things to get created. It gets faster every time I do it, which is exciting. It's going to say, hey, get started. You haven't created 5 of these in the past month. And I kind of ignore it and tell it, yes, I have. But you can see it's created this KQL database down here for us. And that's it. That's all we have to do in this step. So step 1 complete, guys. We have finished creating a KQL database. Boom. All right, so like I mentioned, that is kind of the first step. We're going to push data into it using event streams. Now, I'm going to call 2 APIs into our event stream, so I need 2 event streams. I will just call out to you guys in advance. One of my data sources for this is the list of astronauts in space. That does not change in real time. That could probably be something that does not go through a real-time intelligence situation. They are not actively getting kicked off the ISS. So I think just be aware that not all of your data sources necessarily need to be real-time to make this work. So with that, we're going to make 2 event streams.
Well, hang on a second. We've got a question from Donald. He wants to know, is KQL better than SQL?
For some things. I would say KQL is really good at really large data sets. If you have ever worked with real-time data, it typically tends to be very large because you are getting new records in constantly. So I think that for that scenario and for real time, KQL tends to be faster. I would not use it for things that I would typically use T-SQL for, right? It's not going to replace T-SQL, but for real time, I'm going to show you guys like some of the querying you can do is just way simpler. And because it's simpler, it can execute much faster. So you're not going to get these delays that you can kind of get with direct query mode typically.
But it's really a different purpose.
Yes.
Right. Yep. So yeah, it's in my opinion, it's not better or worse. It's different.
Right.
You know, and if you're really used to the SQL syntax, it can be a little challenging to get into it. If you're really used to some other tool syntax, it's easy to get into. So
exactly. I would recommend if you're interested, do this Kusto Detective Agency. It's free. If you're wondering like how do I get there, I can put the link in YouTube as well. Thank you. But there is also just a lot of Learn documentation. It's even listed in the Learn documentation, this Kusto Detective Agency. But you can see they've got lots of training on how to teach you how to do it. I also, in my GitHub, have included the PBIX file, and the PBIX file contains my Kusto queries. So you guys can steal them and make your own report.
A common use case for Kusto too is like if you're turning on log analytics for your data sets, you'll be deep inside some queries. And so it's if the data is a little bit has an interesting structure, is oftentimes a way you'll do it. So like logging specifically, you'll be deep inside some Kusto queries and to see what's going on.
100%. Yeah, because they are also leveraging, you know, a Kusto KQL database for that because they're again getting that real-time data in. Yeah, 100%. But yeah, okay. Oh yeah, and Donald was just asking a trick question. Looks like he's like, yeah, it looks cleaner than SQL. Yep, it can be. It can be. I don't know that I would do temp tables in Kusto, if that makes sense. I don't know if I would build out my star schema using Kusto, but other things, sure. All right, so back to the event streams. Yes. So I'm gonna make one called Astros for my astronauts. And I'm going to fly through this a bit because we want to have time for whatever discussion we want to have. But we're going to grab a couple pieces of information from here. So this is pretty simple, right? I've created it. I'm going to use a custom endpoint. This is just a name. So you can put anything you want in here. I'm going to put Nazgul, for example. Doesn't really matter. I don't know why they make you name it, I'll be honest, because it doesn't refer to anything later. One thing you do have to hit, you have to hit publish in this corner here. If you don't hit publish, everything I've just done, aka make a name for something, goes away. I have things I would like to talk to Microsoft about. because now I am in the live view. I'm not in the edit view. And yet this is where I'm actually going to get my API connections to use in the Logic app. So again, kind of goofy, but I'm going to come down here into the SAS key authorization, and we are going to grab our connection string. One thing I have learned, this is secretly grayed out. You can't tell unless you compare it to this number here. You have to hit this little eye icon before copying, or else it will not copy it. Have I done this many, many times? Yes. So I'm going to click on that, and now it's not grayed out, even though I could have selected it before. Now I can copy the key.
I ran into that on a storage account on the Azure portal. It was the same thing. In fact, I don't even think the copy came up until you unhit it.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Again, feedback, right?
Because I thought a lot of them used to be that the copy would work and you wouldn't have to unhide it, just for this reason, because you don't want to show it on like a live. I mean, for yours it doesn't matter, but if you're working interactively with somebody, it could. So
100%, I completely agree. Let's see. I don't think I can use that. Let's do sky locations. It's one of those things that I think could be a lot better, especially because it feels like I can click it. Right, it gives me that hover over. It gives me kind of like a press on interaction button. But yeah, just funny. Here. Okay, we're gonna create this one next. Hit publish. I also don't love that they call this topology, which is the shape. We learned that the other day. It's just a strange success message, in my opinion. But all right, so we're gonna grab the SAS authentication again for this one. See, it gives me a press on, but it doesn't work. Anyway, it's fine. We'll complain later and loudly to other people. All right, so I'm gonna copy the name as well. The reason I'm copying the name,
it's entirely possible we have someone watching from that team right now. So,
well, they came to my session as well, so they heard. But all right, so to back up just a second, we've now created an event house. We've created an event stream. Now it's time to create our Logic app, and then we'll start going back through the process to push the data there. But we have to have somewhere for the data to go for this to work. So I'm going to go.
We did do the 2 event streams all going into one event house. Right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can see we've got 2 event streams and then 1 event house. It is not connected to the event house yet, and that's on purpose. Because what we're going to do is load the data in from the API, and it's going to auto-create our schemas for us in the event house. So I don't want to create tables there yet. All right, so we're going to create some new Logic apps here. I have done this a few times. I like to keep the old code so I remember what not to do if needed. But I'm going to go ahead and click add. Somebody asked what the best subscription is for the Logic app. For what we're doing, we're going to use consumption for all of these. The main reason is I don't need VNet integration, and I'm okay with having a pay per operation flow, because I actually don't want to set up a service plan, or any of these other selections are not going to be the cheap option for me for this POC. If you need a VNet, you can choose the standard, but consumption is the easiest for kind of a quick POC. I left this on all day once, and it cost me $2.65. So as long as you remember to turn it off.
But you are using in the Azure side.
Yes.
You have some type of pay as you go subscription.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And as we could now see on this screen, yours happens to be tied to your Visual Studio Enterprise subscription, which
exactly.
Yeah. But if you just did a regular,
it's almost like Fabric is missing an integral part of the solution.
It's almost like I completely agree with you.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And so even though you might need to pay for something like that, as you pointed out, it can be extremely cheap.
Yes. And I am going to keep this in North Central US because that's where my tenant is.
It's very important.
Yeah. But you can adjust this if you need to, right? If you have another tenant you're using, feel free to do that. But I'm going to go ahead and hit review and create. Create. And while that deployment is in progress, I'm going to go back and create the other one. To add consumption, because again, we need 2 logic apps to push this, and we need 2 event streams to consume it, and then 1 event house to store it. So that's where it gets a little confusing, right?
Yeah. Is that because we're calling 2 different endpoints on the REST API?
Yes.
One to get different information.
Exactly. 1 for the astronauts and 1 for the actual location.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Or the baseball team Astros. We're not sure what's coming back yet.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I always forget there is a baseball team with that.
Or I
So
was thinking the dog Astro on the Jetsons. So one of the 2.
whatever works, you know. I'm just trying to make usually what I try to do is have fun names for these things, but I kind of in the hassle of this morning, I did not end up making said fun thing. So that's on me. But all right, so we have our sky locations, and then we've got our Astros. There we go. So we're going to start off with our Astros. So I'm going to go into the Logic App Designer. I'm going to add a trigger. If you have used,
so Jack's funding today's demo here, Kristyna.
Oh,
He
exciting!
just put $5 in the queue for you.
Oh,
so
thanks,
thanks so
Jack.
much, Jack.
That's so fun.
Yeah.
Exciting. Sorry, I'm like, wow, I've never made you money before, Chris. This is so exciting. I'm gonna go ahead and make this 5-second recurrence. If you've used Power Automate, this will feel very similar. You might be asking, why didn't you use Power Automate? Well, because this is going to integrate much easier with our event stream, and I'll show you where. So we've got this recurrence. I made it 5 seconds. Again, you can go down to 1 second. This unfortunately does not let you do milliseconds. So again, if you need milliseconds, use a different tool to do the push. But I'm going to go ahead and add an HTTP request in here. And this one is our astronauts. So I'm going to grab that URL, and it's going to be a get URL. I have the JSON for all this in my Git repo, which I'll share with you guys at the end of this. But that's all we need to do for that step. And then I'm going to go ahead and add an action to go into the event house. Another thing that I'm annoyed with, maybe annoyed with is incorrect, but things I would like adjusted. Event hubs in here, and event stream in here, and event house. If you don't know that those are the same things, that would be a blocker. So event hub is the choice you need to make here. So we're going to send an event. It's going to ask for an event hub name. But first we need to make a connection. So I'm going to go ahead and add a new connection. We're going to call this Kratos Astros. And we're going to take that connection string that we grabbed from the event streaming. So I'm going to grab that endpoint here, pop it in, create new. Another thing that does not quite, oh wait, hang on. I need to edit this. One thing you can't do is edit them once they're created, which is super fun. So we're going to call it Astros fixed. I accidentally copied in the actual event string, the event hub name, as well as the endpoint. So let's try that again. One thing that I really don't like is you hit this drop down, it is going to error out to you telling it's a bad connection string. It is not. It just can't pick up fabric. So you have to enter a custom value of the event hub name. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to add content to pass to it from our previous step, which is the body of that HTTP request. And then we're going to hit save. Now I'm flying through this. This is recorded. I'm hoping that people can slow this down later.
Yeah.
It might be the one video you watch at 0.75 speed instead of 2 times speed. But I'm going to go ahead and hit run, and we'll make sure that this is running how we want. I don't need to save that. Thank you so much. I'm going to go to run history. Boom, we have some successes already. We're rocking and rolling. I'm going to check this out in my event stream and make sure that it's getting the data.
So the logic app is getting the data and pushing it.
Yes.
This event stream then, is it just getting it
Consuming
in
it.
the proper format for the next step?
Yeah, so this is essentially, I think of it kind of like in baseball, right? You have a baseball, and that's the REST API. The pitcher is your logic app, it's throwing it. And then you've got a catcher who is catching the baseball, and that catcher is the event stream. But then to get any action out of it, to get somebody out, you have to throw it to first base, and that's the event hub.
Okay, I like it.
Yeah.
Got it.
A little goofy, but you can see we've got data coming in now, and it is streaming in. So
And
if I
then
wanted to,
any errors is the batter that's going to mess you up.
100%.
Okay.
Maybe actually the batter is the event stream, right? And like it hits it, and then somebody has to catch it. I don't know, but we can mess around with the analogy, right?
I like it. It's something to work on today.
Yeah. So now that I have data in, you'll notice I clicked on this and it went yellow. That is my only notification. I have gone into edit mode now and will need to publish any changes I create. But I'm going to go ahead and add a destination for the event house that I've created.
Boy, that wasn't a little subtly snarky if I ever heard it.
I'm a Minnesotan at heart. We know how to make subtly snarky remarks very well. I think it's our second language. I'm going to call this, again, you can put any name you want to, except anything with underscores, right? Only place in Fabric, you can't do underscores. So that ruins anybody's plans if you wanted to do that.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go ahead and do event house, and we're going to call it Kratos because this destination name goes nowhere else. It doesn't have to be unique. You just have to create it. And then let's go ahead and put that in my Fabric. Space, save. Now, I purposely chose an option where I'm not adjusting it at all. Turns out KQL really good at parsing JSON. So I'm not going to make this do it. Go ahead and hit publish. Yay. So you'll notice it says successfully published, and then really quickly we're going to get an error on this step because it's not actually done. Yeah, it's fun, isn't it? So let's give that a second to do its thing. I'm going to go back to our locations, and let's go ahead and get that set up. So we'll do our logic again. We're going to do recurrence. I'll do 5 seconds again.
We're going to go through even faster on this one then, because you've seen it once and know to slow it down. You've already slowed it down.
It's true. I was going really slow before. So this one, we're going to go really fast through.
Let's go.
I don't know if
I can click the previous one at 0.75, watch this one at 0.25.
100%. It's so funny because
it's all good.
The first time I gave this talk, I won't, you guys are getting all the inside scoops. If you guys were at SQL Saturday Atlanta 2 years ago, probably the first time I tried this, and it went very poorly because I unfortunately did not have my demo foolproof, and I picked the wrong logic app type, and we were troubleshooting it for 20 minutes of the presentation. So ever since then, before I give this talk, I have a routine where I run through demoing this to myself about 8 times. And ever since then, I have realized I got really fast at it doing that. So lesson learned here, You
managed to tell a story and plug all that in very fast at the same time. So.
Well, I hate to tell you guys, but I actually pre-recorded this. No, I'm just kidding. That'd be great.
With all the commentary, this is just a video.
This is just a video, guys. It's fine. Let's go ahead and refresh
something to prove you're live.
Yeah. The loading screens. Okay. It's ruining my speed run, but we'll go through and we'll connect this one and just make sure that this is loading in properly. Let's see, sky locations, we'll hit run, and then let's check our run history. Yeah, okay, we're doing good there. All right, so again, it switches me into that handy dandy edit mode for me. We're gonna do direct ingestion. You do have an option here to process the event before ingesting. In our case, we don't need to. But again, just wanted to call out to you guys that you've got lots of options here.
When you say event processing, like what are you using to process it? What kind of tool or language would it be?
So basically, you can see here we have it'll tell you like, hey, what destinations do you want, and then it'll open another window where you can do some mappings in certain columns. You can change column types. It's kind of like a bronze to silver transformations. It's not going to be anything too crazy. Just kind of standardized ingestion things that you can do. But let's go ahead and do this. Save. And then we'll hop back into, oh no, I have to hit publish. If you don't hit publish, it won't give you an error message like Dataflows does. It will just not save anything you've done. So let's
Oh,
go back.
and it just goes away. You just lose everything at that point.
You just lose everything.
Nice.
Yeah, it's really nice. My favorite part of this whole process, actually. So let's go ahead. So now we have this handy dandy configure button. Right? If you thought you were done, you are not. You have to hit configure. So again, this is not in the edit mode. I would love to see this in the edit mode. None of this so far in this actual editing process is in there. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got my EH space. I'm going to make a new table. And we're in our Astros, so I actually have table names so that we can fly through the Power BI portion.
Well, Kristyna, we think we now have this fully funded. We've got now Andy has joined Jack with putting $5 in the kitty for this. So.
Oh man,
guys! Do you know how many gumballs we can get with $10? So many.
At least 10.
Oh yeah, 40. We can get 40 gumballs, guys. We can have a good time.
$1 a gumball would be some big gumballs.
You better be getting some Reese's cups for $1.
Yeah.
You know. So what I did was I created my table.
And tariffs like jacked up the price of gumballs to the
dollar.
I
hope not. I hope not. All right, so this is configured now. I kind of flew through that again while I'm chatting. Sorry.
Well, we get to do it again, so we could not talk over this one, right?
Yeah. So basically, it's really simple. I'm giving it a table name because I told it that I don't need, get rid of the space at the end, because I told it that I don't need to configure anything else. Let's see. Connection name. I think it's just being, yep. Okay, there we go. I'm going to hit next. I'm just giving it a name inside of my event hub. And it's going to say, hey, are you cool with this mapping? You know, I can change the mapping here. I can go into advanced and do other things. Again, if you had chosen that other option, it would give you more options here. So I did not choose adjust the ingestion before it comes in. But you could do even more. This one takes a little bit because it's got more data. But.
So it's basically taking a look at the JSON that's coming in,
yes,
and giving you a recommended mapping. And that's what you were saying before, is because it does a really good job with JSON, you don't really have to worry about it a whole lot. It could figure a lot of this stuff out.
100%. I never parse it, at least for this demo. And I think that's part of the power of it in log analytics too, because if you guys have tried to parse those logs, it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy trying to figure that out without any documentation as well. Someday they'll give us documentation for that.
It's part of their secret sauce. They're never going to give us documentation.
Yeah, it feels like it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It feels like they can do whatever they want, you know?
Oh, here we are. We are on a roll. Here comes Mark Walters with another $5. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
You're like setting a record today.
This is so fun. We should speed run more often if we didn't get stuck. All right, sometimes this happens. I won't lie to you guys. So what I do is I do it again, and then it runs faster. When in doubt.
Have you tried turning it off and on again?
Yeah, exactly.
Every now and again, if I run out of jokes, which happens pretty quick, I'll exit out of this entirely and do the reconfiguration. So let's go ahead and try that. I'm gonna hit yes, cancel. We'll hit configure again. I think sometimes it just gets thrown off if I change this table name. So like I'm you know, doing that. And then here we go. We'll hit next. Yeah, it gives me some failed to provisions once I cancel it. So we can ignore those because it's going to do its thing. While it's doing that, hey, see, it looks so much faster.
Amazing.
Yeah, funny how that works, right?
Yeah.
You've already collectively saved people a ton of time. I would have rage quit after the copying of the key without the I. So the fact that you've already solved that for everybody would have saved.
Dude, this presentation really quickly became, as soon as I figured all this out, was how do I stop other people from banging their head against a wall?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
it's really what it came down to.
And then just deciding not to use it because you know,
Yes.
you're like, I ran into this error. I ran into this error. So
exactly. So we're gonna hop back in here. We'll see our tables are now in here. We've got pretty data again. This should load in. We just made this one, but you can see it's got data flowing in. We get some nice little information about it. What we really need is this ingestion URI. So I'm gonna copy that. Look, it copied right away. I didn't need to do anything. Okay.
You didn't need to unhide it this time.
Ridiculous. It's fine. Okay. So again, I have made this. I will share with you guys the link to the GitHub. All you have to do is change these parameters to the new URI. So I'll paste that in, and then the name for this one was space. Come on, buddy. There we go. Let's make sure that that worked. Just have to hit edit credentials and sign in again. Let me try my Astros one because that one had data in it to start out with. What? Okay. Let me see if I need a different URI. It does happen. Let's try this again. It says it copied. It looked right. So let me just triple check that I didn't actually. Looks good. Okay.
There we go.
Come on, buddy. Connect. Nope. Okay. I must have the wrong one. So let me go to table details. Let's go back up to our KQL. Look at our database details. You know what? This would help. So instead of ingestion URI, which is the only option when you click on a table, you actually want the query URI. That's what you want. Because we want to query the data. Yep. But you can't get there from a table. You'll notice that is not an option in here.
So you have to get it from the top, the main. Okay.
You have to go into the KQL database side. I believe there is another option to find it up here somewhere. But it's right here. So we'll grab that one. There's always something, you guys, you know, always something I'm remembering about mid-presentation. Let's go ahead. Because there's so many gotchas in my PowerPoint deck, I actually have a list of the gotchas at each step.
Yeah, look at that. It's working now.
Yeah. It's like we're querying the data.
And there was much rejoicing.
So you'll notice it did the parsing for me. That's because in my source step, I have a handy dandy KQL query. Now there's a couple things I'll just call out real quick because we're almost at time, but you can see I've got these to string and then I've got a dot latitude, dot longitude. That's parsing JSON for me.
Okay, so the data source you're using is Kusto.
Yes.
Azure Data Explorer. You worked out what this KQL query should look like.
Yep.
And that's where you're doing a little bit of the parsing. So in order to do your transformation for how Power BI needs to see it.
Yep. I will say this one is a top 20 by design. In the map I'm going to show you, I want the map to move. And then I have another one that is not a top 20 and we'll be able to see the whole pattern. I will call out, you do need to have a sum one or some kind of summarizing some kind of summarizing step in here, or else it won't work. I don't know enough about Kusto to tell you how to get around that. What will happen though, because it's just a sum one, is like it doesn't even show up in the results, so we're pretty good there. The render doesn't matter in Power BI, So let me go ahead and show you kind of what that would look like if I copied this. You can see I removed a column because that sum column comes up, and then I just removed it so nobody has to know my secrets. I'm going to close and apply that, and then I'm going to go back into here and just show you guys if I make a new query. Let's go back to our tables and then query with code. So it gives you some suggestions. You can do like this equal. I'm going to do show 1000 or 100 records. And then I'm going to paste this code in. What's really nice about running these sets of code is you actually don't have to highlight. It kind of auto highlights the query for you. And you can hit run this way and it won't run the top one. But you can actually see it in Kusto if you want. It will make the map for you. So again, it's not a Power BI map. I have a hard time finding the dots in this one. So let's go back to Power BI and we'll go into our tracking data, and you can see we've got this tracking. Now I have set up some stuff. You can see it's moving. Oh, fun, right? I have a page refresh set up, so it's going to auto do every 5 seconds. I have it set up in the online service to also refresh every 5 seconds. That is a key thing. If you are wondering why your report is not rendering as fast as mine is in the service, it's because your admin has disabled it or not turned it on for a 5-second reload of the page. I think the default is 30 seconds. So if you need more than that, you need to talk to an admin. But
and what visual?
I think the default
using?
is 5 minutes.
Oh, is it? Oh,
yeah. So like it could be really, really different. So yes, if you would probably need to talk to your admin on this.
Yeah, and honestly, you should be talking to them anyway, right? For a live data thing, they should know that that's what you're doing.
I talk to myself a lot. So.
Yeah. The visual I'm using is Azure Map. I'm using it because
is that in preview?
No,
it's not.
But you can see we've got a full orbit. If I hover over this, you can see the astronauts that are in space currently. It's pretty fun.
Isn't it Azure Maps is another thing that has to be turned on? I can't remember.
It's a great question.
I thought it was just Azure Maps, not Azure Maps.
This one is called an Azure Map. Let's just triple check.
I thought there was something with Azure Maps that had to be turned on because it's possible the data could go to a different region.
Oh, it's possible. Yeah. Kristyna, we'll check that out.
We just keep going. Sorry, didn't mean to totally disrupt that.
We have 5 minutes left. What is your parting words? Or like, it's impressive that you got through this whole thing in a live stream.
Love you guys. That's fun. Let me go ahead. The last thing I want to share with everybody is the Git repo. There is FabCon Vegas. I'll put the link. This has everything. So you can see it's got the PBIX. It's got my PowerPoint deck. I've got some more queries that you can run in KQL if you're trying to learn that. And then I've got the code for the logic apps. So it has all the stuff you'll need. But I'm going to go ahead and put that in there.
And so actual hands-on keyboard code that you had to write for this, was it just the Kusto queries? And then the Power Query, you were just using the default stuff to remove columns. So it was really that, I think that's all I saw was the Kusto query to select what you needed.
Exactly. Yeah. Easy peasy. So, and you guys can steal this from me, right? You don't have to write a single thing if you don't want to. So.
Yeah, and to validate, all maps have admin tenant setting because the APIs for the maps, and this is my understanding on the map side, is all maps require the use of APIs that will extend beyond the region of your tenant because they're centralized inside of Azure, and so you have to enable those because you're passing parameters to an API that's feeding stuff back. So
yeah, that's a great call out. Yeah. So if you are using this for something that is very sensitive and you can't have it sending like that, obviously this demo does not qualify for that because it's publicly available. But You
But
can,
but
I
in the
believe, you can pay for Esri maps, and then
yeah.
it should be more secure.
But I mean, like, this is a good demo, for something we could all kind of relate to. But if
Right.
it's like a business type of thing, watching a refrigeration unit,
Yeah.
you're not going to use a map. You're going to, kind of be doing something else with that, and maybe even pulling data activator in for it to say, what if it goes below or above a certain temperature, get a ticket or do something, So
100%.
Yeah. Yes, we are nearing the end of time. So, Kristyna,
man, I'm out of
absolutely
breath running
fantastic
that
work,
hard.
right?
I'm like so glad I had my coffee before.
Exactly. You did
Thanks,
great. That was wonderful.
Yes,
guys.
yes. And holy cow, I'm just realizing you have Rivendell as well as, is that the Eye of Sauron behind you?
Yeah. Well, so this is actually Hogwarts,
Oh,
and
okay.
then this is the Tower of Barad-dûr. It is
Okay.
3 feet
Mhm.
tall. It is
Wow.
behind me far enough that I don't hit it accidentally. Um,
That's
it's
important.
Legos. This was my birthday present for my husband because he knows me
Oh,
very
wow.
well. Yeah.
Well, happy birthday. That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Yeah, and I think I'm just a YouTube lag away from beating Databard, who's saying, yeah, I love the Lego sets. That is fantastic.
I have more I have to build. My Christmas presents have not been built yet, so
Hmm.
stay tuned for when my basement gets finished, and or should I say when I finish painting my basement, and then I have an office again. So
Well, there you go.
excited.
Awesome. All right. Well, we are at time. Curtis, Kevin, Kristyna, thank you so much for joining us today.
And
Thank you
Dax.
for
Dax just laid down. So
what's that? Oh yeah,
Dax just joined us.
yeah. He's a little late. He has a new bone, or at least
Aw.
had a new bone when it started. That may be gone now. So well, I want to thank you all so much, Kristyna, especially for you. Thank you for joining us. Curtis, thanks for popping on. We might see you more often. Yes.
I hope so. That was great. Getting
Awesome.
the demo was awesome.
Maybe next week we could do Pi Tabular.
Sign me up. Put
All
me in.
right.
All right. You heard it here first.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys all so much for tuning in. You guys have the best weekend ever. Peace.
Peace.
Combine strategic industry insight and advanced technical expertise to uncover and solve your digital transformation challenges. If you're interested in learning more, check out our website at bakertilly.com/digital.